well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam & Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Hope that you had a very, very happy Thanksgiving holiday. It is good to be back behind the microphone once again on a very busy Monday here. So we have a couple of big stories taking place around the nation we're going to be talking about on today's program. In a few minutes, you're going to hear from Philip Van Cleave, president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League, talking about the Second Amendment sanctuary movement in Virginia, where now more than 20 counties have adopted Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. We could see close to a dozen or more counties adopt this resolution on tonight's meetings and tomorrow's meetings around the state of Virginia. We've also got some county supervisors meetings coming up on Wednesday of this week, and there have been huge crowds showing up for all of these meetings. So I'm going to be heading out to Louisa County, Virginia, which is in the central part of the state. They've got their county supervisors meeting this evening. I'll be there in person. I'll be reporting on that for Bearing Arms. But we did talk with Philip Van Cleave about the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. You'll hear from Phil in just a couple of minutes. Also, Julio Rosas from Town Hall spoke with Julio from the Supreme Court just a moment ago because the Supreme Court hearing oral arguments today in the New York City gun challenge. New York City, actually it's New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus New York City. Oral arguments taking place. The court is not only going to be considering the constitutionality of this gun law, but whether or not this case has been mooted since New York City changed the law in question after the Supreme Court agreed to hear this case. Julio, again, outside of the Supreme Court this morning where gun control groups had gathered in opposition to the Supreme Court hearing this case. I had a chance to speak with Julio. Take a look and a listen. So, Julio, thanks for joining us today. I realize it is a pretty cold and blustery Monday outside the court. Sounds like there's a lot of activity outside the court as well this morning.
Yes, there is. There's quite a few of pro-gun control groups outside here today, and then there's also a few pro-gun rights people that are kind of mixed in the crowd a little bit.
Yeah, the pro-gun folks, they don't like to go to D.C. much because of the gun laws there. The gun control groups love it. And, of course, you know, the real action taking place inside the Supreme Court building where oral arguments are taking place. What are the gun control groups outside? Obviously, they object to the court hearing this case, but what are they yelling about specifically today?
Well, a lot of the point that they've really hammered between all the speakers is that they just go back to their main point of that the Second Amendment is not an absolute right. There are limitation restrictions on the other amendments in the Constitution, and so they say that it's the same thing with the Second Amendment. And actually, one of the speakers called the Second Amendment a privilege. It's one of the privileges that the Constitution offers, which is a unique word considering that the Second Amendment is within the Bill of Rights, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of the their main point is just saying that the Second Amendment has to have limitations and restrictions, just so like you can't shout fire in a crowded movie theater. Of course, if you do that, there are consequences because you can do that, but there are consequences if you falsely shout something like that.
Well, yeah, and you know, I don't think anybody disagrees that there aren't some limits to every constitutional right. However, the question before the court right now is whether or not this particular New York City gun law violates the rights, not the privileges, as you say, but the rights of American citizens by forbidding them to transport their legally owned pistols anywhere besides, 5 pre-approved ranges there in New York City. And I understand that New York City has changed this law in question, but the plaintiffs say that there are still some live constitutional issues. They say the city could just go ahead and change the law back if the court decides not to hear this case. It's not a question of whether or not, each and every right is unlimited. It's whether or not this particular New York City gun law is an infringement on that right.
Right, exactly. And they haven't really mentioned the specifics of the court case. They just kind of go around it. They're not, yeah. And I can pretty much guess why. But their main point, actually, Congressman Connolly, who's out here who represents Virginia, he just said that there's no one needs an AR-15 to defend their home, which is kind of unfortunate timing because there was that recent case of that pregnant mother saving her husband's life from two home intruders with her husband's AR-15, and the two home intruders were armed as well, and so she was able to take care of them.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite things about leaving Northern Virginia is that Jerry Connolly is no longer my Congress critter. He is maybe the most annoying member of Congress, in my opinion. And again, this case has nothing to do with AR-15s. It has nothing to do with, defending yourself in your home. It has to do with the transporting of legally owned firearms. But again, as you say, and it sounds like they're getting a little louder, as you say, the gun control advocates, they don't want to talk about the specifics of this case. Even Michael Bloomberg out with an editorial today in which he says, yes, this is an unnecessary law, but it was changed. Well, if it was so unnecessary, why didn't he change it? He was mayor for 3 terms, but he kept this law on the books the entire time that he was in office.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting that you bring up Michael Bloomberg because, and I know we've talked about this before, because now that he's in the presidential race, I was kind of wondering who was going to fill that Eric Swalwell, Beto O'Rourke void in terms of extreme stance on gun control laws. And here comes Michael Bloomberg, Leroy Jenkinsing himself into the race, and so I'm sure that he'll provide some of that that he'll fill that position in.
Absolutely. So how would you describe the mood of the gun control advocates outside the Supreme Court today, Julio?
They're pretty joyful. I mean, it's they're trying to stay warm and dry, like myself. But I will say that they're very energized. Obviously, it's a Monday morning. It's normally a work day, but there are quite a few of them out here. So that just shows that they are energized and they're willing to make themselves heard in inconvenient times.
Yeah, and gun owners should be aware of that. I mean, it's real easy to try to dismiss our opponents and we don't have anything to worry about. Listen, this is as organized as the gun control movement has ever been. They are well funded. They are energized, as you say. They got a victory in Virginia during the last elections. So they do feel, I think, pretty confident. I don't think they should feel very confident that the Supreme Court is going to reject this case, but I think that they do feel very confident right now about where their movement is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris Murphy, he also spoke to Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, and he also he said this before, but he says that he truly believes that now the gun control movement is even now more powerful than the gun rights movement. And sure, we can, whether that's true or not, but like you said, I think that they really are as strong as they have ever been.
Absolutely. Julio, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the program today. We'll let you get back to it. Hopefully you get inside here before long, but thank you so much for your time, and we will continue to look forward to your coverage of this case at townhall.com as well as at Bearing Arms. Now, I mentioned with Julio, Michael Bloomberg, who says now that this law was simply unnecessary the entire time that it was on the books. He's got an op-ed out attacking the NRA for bringing this case, even though the case is called New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus New York City. The NRA is supporting this case, but it's actually brought by the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Of course, Bloomberg running for president. He doesn't want a state-level gun group to be his boogeyman. He wants the NRA to be the big, bad boogeyman. And in this op-ed, Bloomberg engages in quite a bit of historical revisionism in terms of this law that's on the books. He says, quote, at issue is a New York City regulation that's no longer on the books. He says the regulation enacted by the police department before I served as mayor restricted gun owners from transporting their guns to shooting ranges outside the city. It imposed an unnecessary restriction on gun owners' ability to visit ranges, and it was rightly rescinded. Here's the thing. The law was put on the books before Bloomberg was mayor. The law was not changed until after Bloomberg left office. He had 3 terms to change this quote-unquote unnecessary law. He did nothing. As a matter of fact, he went the opposite direction. He made life harder for legal gun owners in New York City during his time as mayor. In fact, New York City did not change the law until the Supreme Court agreed to hear this case. At trial, the first, a trial court case, New York City defended this law. When it went up to the Second Court of Appeals, New York City defended this law. Only when the Supreme Court agreed to hear this challenge did the city start to freak out. Did gun control advocates start to freak out, concerned that the court would have another crack at weighing in on our right to keep and bear arms, as they did in Heller, as they did in McDonald. And that is when the city decided to change the law. It's not because they felt it was unnecessary. It's because they wanted to avoid judicial scrutiny. And Michael Bloomberg, as much as he might try to, again, change history, cannot change those stubborn facts. Now, as I mentioned, we've got a very busy couple of days in Virginia with a dozen or more counties slated to discuss Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. I will be out one of these meetings tonight. Prince Edward County, by the way, where Farmville, Virginia is located, our supervisors meeting is next Monday. It's a week from today. We'll certainly be there for that as well. I'm going to try to attend as many of these county supervisors meetings as I possibly can and provide you with some in-depth, on-the-ground reporting for bearing arms. But I did have the chance to speak with Philip Van Cleave, president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League, for a couple of minutes today, talking about the movement. And I want you to take a look and listen to what Phil had to say. Well, Phil, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program today. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule for you these days.
Yeah, unbelievable. I've never, in all the 20 years I've been doing this, I've never seen anything even close to this.
You know, we've seen more than 20 counties around the state adopt these Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions. This, however, is going to be a big week, right? We've got, I don't know how many meetings on Monday and Tuesday across the state, but it seems likely that by the time Wednesday rolls around, we'll have more than 30 Second Amendment sanctuary counties in Virginia.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we don't have at least 30, if not more. Yeah, we've got just a ton of meetings on Tuesday and a bunch today on Monday, and then some more on Wednesday. And then next week, we've got a whole other batch coming. So they're just rolling in left and right.
What is the best way for folks to try to keep up where all these meetings are? Is it really, are you seeing this really still at the local county level, and it's not a matter of, a gun owner in Martinsville needed to know when, there's a meeting in Winchester, that it's I just need to know where my next county commission meeting is going to be?
Right. This is really local. We're not having people, come from all various areas to show support. I mean, you obviously can. You can come to any of these meetings and be part of the audience, if you will, part of the people there. But we've just had massive turnouts, and it's all been really local. And up to 1,000 people or so at these Board of Supervisors meetings. Even they're going, we've never seen anything like this.
It really is amazing. And, and gun control advocates, they've not seen anything like this in Virginia either. And we're starting to see this backlash. The Washington Post editorial board came out with a piece over the weekend calling supporters of Second Amendment sanctuaries mischief makers intent on sowing chaos in the state. Gun control advocates are alternately, mocking the Second Amendment sanctuaries. And at the same time, they seem really concerned about this. Where do you think this movement, and what do you think about the response by gun control advocates to what we're seeing here on the ground in Virginia?
If they weren't frightened or worried about this massive upturn of gun owners showing up at these meetings, huge numbers, then they wouldn't be commenting on this. And the fact that we're out here supporting protected constitutional right. Mischief makers? Really? I guess our founding fathers were mischief makers. I guess they were to the elite, powers in England. Yeah, they were mischief makers. And in which case, I'll proudly take that mantle.
I guess I'm a mischief maker as well, although I don't think this is about making mischief. I don't think it's about sowing chaos. I think it is about preserving our rights. And it's as simple as that. One of the things that we've seen already before the legislature even begins, we've seen bills that would ban the most commonly sold rifle in the state and in the country. And it would ban the continued possession of legally owned firearms. We've got bills that would strip away parental authority as to when they believe their minor children are responsible enough to handle a firearm without direct adult supervision. Frankly, universal background checks, red flag bills. There are no shortage of bills that have already been pre-filed that would not just regulate, but would absolutely infringe on the rights of Virginia gun owners.
Yeah, this is clearly an I hate gun owners scenario, a group of bills. It's aimed at people like you and me, the kind of people that if the state was populated with, you wouldn't need locks on your doors anymore. The people that don't commit any crimes, that follow the law. And they're aiming all of this at us. They're not doing anything about criminals. They don't care about criminals because as long as there's criminals, they get to say, oh, we need more gun control. For them, it's about power, not saving lives or making things better. And you can't have true power if the people actually maintain their ability to defend themselves. That's why the Second Amendment is there. And they don't. This is what the Founding Fathers put it in because they knew that government at some point was going to be coming to take it away from us because it was wanting to become all powerful. This is just the trend in government. And that's where we are. This is about power. This is about taking control. It's not about crime. And that's why they're attacking us and why the press are concerned about this and trying to poo-poo it.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to be talking with you later in the week as well. But one last question before we let you go. These resolutions that we're seeing approved by county commissions across the state, I think are one thing. But, we also know that county commissioners, they don't enforce the law, right? It's the county sheriff. It's the Commonwealth's attorney in the county. Are you hearing from individuals in those positions supporting the Second Amendment sanctuary movement as well?
Oh, yes, we are, and indeed, that's part of it. We need to also reach out to the sheriffs and the Commonwealth attorney. Some of them are looking to the county to take their lead. So if the county becomes a sanctuary, then they'll follow that rule, and others are just going to do it independently. And there's going to be some that simply won't. But that's it. That's all key, and it's all part of the message that's being sent back to Richmond. It looks like Democrat leadership is basically spitting on the Constitution and on people like you and me. And this sanctuary thing is a way of standing up to that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we may run across each other at one of these county commission meetings over the next couple of days. I'm going to be planning on going out to Louisa County Monday night, Amherst County Tuesday night, but there are no shortage, as I said, of these meetings taking place around Virginia over the next couple of days. But let's connect midweek, Phil, and get an update if we can.
Yeah, let's see where we're at. We'll see how many of these counties and cities have gone to be a sanctuary.
That's right. Yeah, we've got City of Roanoke coming up for a vote tonight, I believe,
Beach,
and Virginia Beach as well.
Tomorrow.
So there you go. Absolutely. Phil Van Cleave with the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Hey, thanks, Cal.
All right, looking forward to having Phil back on later on in the week with an update about these Second Amendment sanctuary counties. And just before we move on here, real quick, we've seen, as I mentioned with Phil, we're starting to see some pushback from the press, from anti-gun advocates. One of the things that Lori Haas, this gun control advocate in Virginia, said is that this is somehow being directed by the Virginia Citizens Defense League, it's being organized by the VCDL. No offense to Phil, but it's not. This is really happening at the county level, and groups like VCDL are doing their best to keep track of everything that's taking place and to keep track of when these county supervisors are going to be hearing these resolutions. But I got to tell you, this is actually happening county by county, neighbor to neighbor, and it's unlike anything that I've really seen in 15 years of covering the Second Amendment on a daily basis, which is one of the reasons why I'm so energized now and why I want to keep going out and covering these county supervisors meetings. All right, let's get to today's good deed of the day, our armed citizen of the day, as well as our recidivism report, which today comes from Baltimore, Maryland, where Baltimore, already has over more than 300 homicides this year. 5th year in a row, I believe, that Baltimore has topped 300 homicides. And don't forget, Maryland passed the Maryland Firearm Safety Act in 2013. It says then homicides in Baltimore have gone up, not down. They've been going in the wrong direction, in part because I think of the failures of the criminal justice system. So WBAL in Baltimore reports that early Thanksgiving morning, 2 guys armed with guns invaded an apartment at the McCullough Homes. Police say that the suspects did not realize that officers had surrounded the home, and so when they walked out, officers were there. Detective Donnie Moss says we were able to apprehend an armed suspect without it ending in gunfire. Police say that Khalid Brinkley was armed when he was taken into custody. According to online court records, WBAL reports the 28-year-old pleaded guilty to armed robbery 3 years ago, 2016. He was sentenced to 3 years for armed robbery and then 3 years probation. Detectives are still looking for a second suspect in this case. But again, this is just one minor story indicative of the failures of the criminal justice system to seriously take on and deal with repeat violent offenders. You want to make the city streets of Baltimore safer? Go after the criminals who are committing the crimes, not Maryland's law-abiding gun owners. All right, on to our armed citizen story of the day. From Missouri, Texas County, Missouri to be specific, where Friday night, a stranger walks into somebody's home. You're not supposed to do that. And ended up being held at gunpoint until police arrived. Now, the guy actually passed out at some point, according to police. They think that he was on something, either intoxicated or drugged. The Houston Herald reports later he became awake and combative, and additional guns were drawn. Officers arrived. They were able to take the individual into custody, taken to the Texas County Jail. Officers accompanied the transport vehicle because the man was uncooperative. They say no names released, but the homeowners are safe and sound thanks to the fact that they were armed and able to protect themselves. Now, our good deed of the day from Henrico County, Virginia, where an off-duty police officer saving the life of a man over the Thanksgiving weekend. Channel 12 NBC in Richmond reports that Officer Jonathan Turner administered CPR to a man in Short Pump, Virginia. This was on Tuesday evening at a fast food restaurant. Lisa Gravitt's dad was the individual who actually had trouble. She ended up posting on Facebook saying that Jonathan Turner administered CPR on her dad in the parking lot of this fast food joint, saving his life. She said, he and I have been talking about how things happened that evening, and God definitely placed him at the right place at the right time that night for my parents. She says, we are so grateful. She did not know who that officer was, so that's why she posted this on Facebook. And Officer Turner actually reached out. Henrico police told the Gravitts who this officer was, and thanked the family for reaching out with a positive update. So again, in the right place at the right time, able to save a man's life. Officer Jonathan Turner of the Henrico, Virginia Police Department, we thank you for your good deed. And that is today's program. I appreciate you being a part of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. Thank you so much for joining the program today. Tomorrow, we're going to have much more on the Supreme Court oral arguments. The transcript of these oral arguments should be released Monday afternoon. We won't hear the actual audio released until the end of the week, but we will know much more 24 hours from now about how the court is considering this challenge to this New York City gun law. So make sure you tune in for Bearing Arms Cam & Company tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, townhall.com's podcast page. And make sure you check out bearingarms.com throughout the day for the latest Second Amendment news and information from all across the nation. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you back here soon with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company.